Welcome to the Ticker Highlight Show. You are lucky enough to get Hans and myself, Hans Albrecht, or as Mark would say, Hans J, and Alicia Leslie. We do not have Mark or Andrew this morning. So we are talking about MicroStrategy, which we cannot talk about without talking about Bitcoin. And I hope you all read the newsletter. Each of us wrote about our own ideas on MicroStrategy. And as we know, Mark informed us how it has an unusual business strategy of issuing debt to buy Bitcoin. So with that, we know that it's highly correlated to Bitcoin. Now, of course, my chart is freezing. Maybe you can still see it. Bitcoin has had a nice rally since it tried to break through 100,000 the first time, pulled back, completely honored my support level on the pitchfork, rallied. We had some consolidation. My support resistance level is 97,476. That is a line in the sand. You want to close above or below that. We had a giant high wave candle. Once it retested that 100,000, it traded 104 right away. And now it's pulling back again. I believe it will retest my 97,476. We are going to want to see a close above or below there to see Bitcoin continue its rally or come back down here to 97,476. I'm sorry. Look, my screen is. Sorry, folks. Maybe I just handed it to you, Hans, if I'm having issues here.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I mean, look, this MSTR, without a doubt, is a high beta play on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin isn't exciting enough for you, MSTR is sort of a multiple way to play the movement in Bitcoin. And we've really seen that play out over the last couple months. I think I started talking about it a couple months ago at 133, and of course we got to 550. So Lisa's got some levels there that I think are interesting, and I kind of feel that, of course, it's very tightly correlated to Bitcoin. So it really comes down to what Bitcoin is doing. MicroStrategy is executing. They're offering out these convertible bonds. And basically, you're wondering, well, why are institutions buying this? Why are they buying something where they can convert to actual MSTR stock at multiples of their underlying holdings? So MSTR trades at sort of 2.5 times their underlying holdings, right? So you're kind of paying 2.5 times the price of Bitcoin for this product. And the key to that is they're getting sort of an embedded call in there, and they're buying very, very cheap volatility, which of course is near and dear to us at Option Pit, as we love to talk volatility and options. And they're doing a kind of arbitrage. They're buying it cheap and they're selling it out in various ways. And this all works out fine unless Bitcoin sort of takes a bit of a trip down. I kind of feel that $100,000 level, I've been sort of saying this for a couple of weeks, I feel like it's maybe going to act as a bit of a magnet. It's that nice round number, 100,000. So many people have been waiting for that for months and years even. So I think it does probably have a little bit of trouble getting too far above it, and probably a little bit of trouble getting too far back below it. And so what we're seeing is volatility really start to compress here a little bit. Even on this pullback, we're seeing option pricing compress a little bit. And so that's the market, the volatility market, the options market saying, listen, we think that we found a range here. Now it's a Bitcoin style range, right? This isn't owning J&J. This is owning Bitcoin and a beta version of Bitcoin. So the range is going to be wider. So if you own this thing, if you trade this thing, you have to be ready for probably 10% moves on a fairly regular basis. But in my view, and I don't know how you feel, Alicia, but I kind of feel like that 100,000 level is going to kind of continue to pull at the market, and we may see volatility compress a little bit more in MSTR, in things like Coinbase. I've got this cash machine trade on in Coinbase where I'm short some volatility in that thing. And that's okay as long as these things don't move too far one way or the other. We have seen already a drop today. So are you still having trouble presenting?
Let me try.
You're
Can you
getting
see
the
that?
Doctor Who super tunnel. Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
There you go.
So here's my MicroStrategy. If you would like to continue, you may, or I can talk about the chart. It's up to you,
Yeah,
Hans.
go ahead and talk about the chart, and then we'll pop over into the vol space.
Sounds good. I have MicroStrategy coming up on support, a little bit of support here. Now this hasn't held before, but 370, 369.60. Below there, it will be these previous lows, 362. And then even below that will be 337. So we're looking at 362, 337 on the downside. On the upside, I have 376 and a quarter and 442. Now we have this very dark cloud cover candle, bringing it down, being bearish. This looks like to me, Friday could have been a Harami candle negating that, but it didn't pan out. Today, it looks more like this is going to be bear flagging on
Yeah, and
the side.
you know what, Alicia, I would say that, I mean, you're seeing a little bit of weakness in the market in general. So if we could
Yes.
consider, if we consider Bitcoin and then of course MSTR and the various proxy plays as a little bit risk on, risk off, generally speaking, we're seeing a little bit of risk off. I don't think it's anything to get super excited about in the S&P. I think, you know, if we get deeper into the weeds and talk, you know, gamma and all these positions that these big positions that dealers have, I think there's support there. I don't think we get going too far down, but we are seeing a bit of weakness in growth a little bit today. Nothing crazy. I'm seeing a little bit of a pullback in mag, a little bit of a pullback in some of the parabolas. So that's one of the issues is if we start to see this very parabolic kind of market, we've seen it in Reddit, and I mean, so many different individual names. If we start to see some of those parabolas unwind, that may be a sign that risk is unwinding a little bit. And maybe that spills over into the Bitcoin and Bitcoin complex space.
Yes, I agree with you there. We are seeing the market begin to sell down a little bit. Here I have MicroStrategy testing actually it's trading below the 21 day. And we have a volume node here to offer support at this level. So I think today could be key if it closes below, you know, if it closes below here, 371, 370, we may see into the 360s, 360, and then down to 337. So
Yeah, we could see maybe MSTR is leading. Sometimes we don't know which one's leading, right? Is it Bitcoin? Is it proxy plays? Maybe these plays are leading Bitcoin. Maybe we see a little bit of a dip in Bitcoin overnight. Where do you like support in Bitcoin itself? Because I think that's going to be sort of the fundamental foundation for what MicroStrategy does. And if we can maybe hold, I'm not sure where you like that level. Is it the low from the other day, which was I think maybe around 91,000?
my line in the sand is a close above or below 97,476. That's this blue line here. That's these lows, these highs. We're actually tested it this morning and had a little bounce off there.
And then if it gets through there, that takes us down to the bottom of that pitchfork
I would
channel.
say a close below there, right? Intraday, it doesn't matter as much as the close. You want to see a close. Then I would say it could take it down to 92.8.
I think that's pretty doable. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
doable.
definitely. Definitely could happen.
Okay, so can I pop in there? Let me just pop in there.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've been talking about is there are a couple of unique things to talk about here. One pertains to the Bitcoin space. So Bitcoin, when we talk about option pricing and volatility in this space, it's going to look a little bit less like your typical stock, your S&P stock, like a Microsoft, something like that. Because it is part of the sort of safe haven, let's call it that, for lack of a better word. It's in the same. It kind of runs in the same circles as maybe gold and some sort of um, flight to safety kinds of plays. And because of that, we tend to get sort of unusual skew. And what I mean by skew is where are out of the money calls priced versus out of the money puts. And so in the S&P, for example, you often see, I mean, all the time, you see that downside puts are very expensive versus upside calls. And there are a number of reasons for that, but basically, most people are buying insurance for their stocks, right? They're not shorting it, they're not shorting it. So there's a sort of natural captive buyer of puts. And to the upside, people are usually selling calls and they're pushing down that upside call skew. So you get this kind of, we call it a smirk because it's sort of really steep. Everyone's paying up for puts and they're selling upside calls. So you get this kind of smirk. In the Bitcoin space and the sort of associated proxies like MSTR, you get a little something different. You get upside skew. So you actually get, a lot of the time you get, sometimes this flattens out, and it does when MSTR was $150. This was very, very flat. Nobody was really kind of incorporating this upside skew. And then eventually the rest is history. We've run up since then. And we're back to kind of like a steep type skew. So that means people are paying up for calls because they want that explosive potential to the upside. What that can do for us as MSTR holders is give us an opportunity. And so, we put this together. I'm not sure when this went out, but we were a little bit higher. And so I said, look, you can take advantage of this. And if you own MSTR, you can sell pretty elevated skew. Already today, we see volatility dropping. So from this red dotted line, we've come down to the green line, which is, we've already seen a compression of volatility, which might seem strange to people because these things are kind of falling out of bed a little bit today. You'd think maybe that volatility would rise, but it doesn't. Again, this is like a gold. And it's sort of going to, the volatility is probably going to jump to the upside. But I said, look, you can take an MSTR holding and sell some out of the money calls against it. Number one, you're getting volatility levels, option pricing levels that are fairly high. And I think, in my view, you could press a little bit more. We were up as high as 220 on this thing when everything was going parabolic, and that was kind of crazy upside. We've come back down to sort of the 130, 140 range. I think there's still a little bit of downside. It's starting to get a little bit thin overall, but there's still a little bit of downside if we indeed kind of stay around that 90 to 110 range and MSTR sort of does its thing. But you can go out there and, for example, if you own MSTR, let's put this in here. And you could go into, DEES is starting to get a little bit too short term. So let's go with a Jan position. So we've got MSTR 375. You can wait, if you own this thing, you can wait for a little bounce back here. I think we probably get it. We certainly don't know for sure. But if you look at something like a 400 strike, or let's pick a 420, because that gives us a little bit of distance from where we are now, 376 to 420, about a 10% move. And you can grab $44, probably mid-market, you grab maybe $44.50 by selling a 420 call against your underlying holding. So think about what you're getting here. You're selling a cover call. And number one, we talked about this a moment ago, you're getting that upside skew. So you're getting paid better for this And of course, your risk is always you're going to be obligated to sell your stock. So if Bitcoin goes for another big run and MSTR goes to $500, you're going to be obligated to sell your stock on expiry if it indeed is above your strike price. So we have to understand what that means. But we are being paid for this privilege of being able to put, about $44 in our jeans, which is pretty good. So if we go to $44 divided by, where we're trading, we're looking at about 11 to 12% of premium based on where MSTR is trading. And not only that, but you have an extra 10% or even more, 12% of upside. So your call away return is really kind of gigantic at this point. You could be looking at, 22%. We go up $45 plus your extra $45. You're looking at sort of well over 22, 23% as a call away return, so that if MSTR does go for a little bit of a run, you are really getting well compensated for that in that space. And it only exists because we have this nice juicy upside skew. So I kind of like that there. Now, you may have to wait, because if MSTR does go for a bit of a run, the volatility is probably going to rise a bit, and you're short these things, and there's a bit of short vega there. So you're going to they're not going to collapse as quickly as you think they might. But the math really lines up nicely. I think these things price quite nicely, Lisha.
I like it. Although I was considering the opposite side of what you were saying. Are you finished?
Let's hear it. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give that up. There you go.
Great explanation, Hans. I was looking at, now it's moved so much. I mean, we've had the range of 399.80 to 371.50, right? $28 range already today. So I was considering going long that implied vol. It is elevated. Our lows are down here at 80, 83-ish. It did spike up here to 2.25. It is down. It's down about 10 points from Friday. Being long premium, that would hurt you, right? You did get the move, though. You have a 28-point move. Your historical is holding up with that 28-point move. I was looking more as trying to backspread it, meaning a strangle, right? But those premiums are so high, and as you pointed out, we do have the skew. So I was looking at possibly a call vertical versus a put butterfly. That way we can take advantage of the moves higher or a move lower. Now, initially I was looking at the 404 quarter call vertical, which is pretty far away now. I was looking at it when the stock was trading 395. And then I was looking at the 390, 65, 40 put fly. Now, I personally am not putting anything on in this stock. To me, it's an animal. It's trading crazily, and with these high premiums, perhaps Hans's idea is better. You need to be a stock owner, but if you are a stock owner, it's a great idea. As far as hopping in without any kind of position, I like being long the premium. But as I said, you need to figure a way to have that skew work in your favor, that you're not spending too much money. But
I
if
like
you're
that.
spending $10, $11 on the trade, I think you'll make it just scalping the stock as it moves up and down.
I like that play, Lisha. So if you don't own this thing and you want to play this dip for a bounce back, it's taking advantage of that skew that I talked about. So you're buying a closer call and you're selling a further out call at that higher implied volatility, which is kind of a bonus again in this sort of space. So you are
Exactly.
getting sort of, it prices nicely. If you were really bearish, I put on something like a broken wing butterfly to the downside. That might work as well. So you've got a few different choices here. If you own the stock and you have conviction that this is something that you want to own for a while, you can look at that covered call strategy as a kind of paid to wait. Think of it as, okay, I'm going to rent out my MSTR for a brief period of time, and I'm going to get paid a whole bunch of money for that. If you don't have a position, Leish's upside call spread really makes sense, and it prices nicely for the exact reasons that I talked about earlier with that skew. It's still long. It's long delta. There's no question. So if the stock goes down, it's going to come down a little bit. But I like the spot, especially. I think we hit 362 maybe a week and a half ago, and that wasn't a bad spot, and which probably associated a little bit with the low 90s on Bitcoin, which
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
But we are seeing
So
this space. The space is definitely soft today, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, the spy's coming off as well. I think we kind of get a little bit of support in here. Um, down around that 60-50 level, we've got that huge JPM call collar leg. And so there's a great deal of what we call that gamma. There's a lot of gamma there. So I don't see this getting too ugly at this point. But we've had a really big run in growth. We've had some, as I said, we've had a lot of parabolas, right? It's been a parabola market. And so, we can expect some parabolas to kind of, reset lower a little bit. In your world, Licia, that would be something that you'd know a lot better about. But when you do have a parabola, what are you looking for? Are you looking at fibs ever? Are you try to stick to the pitchforks and go, okay, if I've had a stock that's gone from 150 to 175, are you looking for a 50% pullback? I'm trying to think of how do I go about managing these parabolic moves in order to
right,
make sure I don't get in too soon, right? You've had a stock go up 40%. Don't try
right.
to get in the first $3 drop.
Exactly. Well, I definitely use my levels with my pitchforks, but yeah, Fibonacci retracement would be a way to do it also. Um, but I just have my support and resistance levels that I use. But I
Yeah.
also combine that with a candle pattern that shows me that, okay, this could be a bottom or this could be a top here. I don't solely base it on the support resistance. I'm looking for a candle to show me that, okay, this could be a change in trend here. And then I also, on top of that, wait for a confirmation. So I hop in after the fact. I don't try to pick the bottom or pick the top. I need a little confirmation. I want to see the stock show me that it's heading in that direction before I hop in.
I like that idea a lot. There's always people love to try to catch a falling knife, but you're kind of disagreeing with what the market's doing. It's falling. It's falling. So
Right,
I like that.
right,
Yeah, get that confirmation. Yeah,
exactly.
I like
So
that.
MSTR, I would say trade with caution and care, and
Yeah,
it's an animal.
exactly. Keep your sizing appropriate. And I'd say look across your portfolio and, are you heavily into, growth and sort of high beta names already? So just, think of those things as well. But I don't think this run in Bitcoin is over. And I think this could turn into a very nice opportunity. And if we see vol come in a little bit more, I think you're going to see us start talking a little bit about potential long vol type plays as well, because you get that Bitcoin vol down around 100 or that MSTR vol down around 100, I think it starts to look a little bit enticing. But my kind of whole 100,000 pin is something that I feel could kind of continue into eggnog season. I don't know if it continues towards inauguration, maybe, but for now it feels like that might be the magnet. So this you might be nice. There might be a nice play here just in a bounce.
It's bounced off my support there so far today.
Boom.
Kissed it and bounced. Pretty crazy. All right, Hans, that was awesome.
All right. Thanks, Leisha. Hopefully everybody
Thank
enjoyed that.
you. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day. I believe Trading Desk has been canceled, but join me if you're Delta Striker. I will meet you at noon. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Have a wonderful day.